Um, Hi everyone. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very, very happy to be here, and well, I'm inspired by your stories. It's a group of people who are trying to make the world a better place. So I'm Elif Urgan, as Anya said. I'm working in Istanbul in a social enterprise called Mikado. It's our 10th anniversary this year. Can I pull it a bit here? Yeah? Okay. So, well, we say if you don't measure it, you can't treasure it. This is our kind of motto. So what is social impact? Just this presentation will give you just a brief idea of what social impact is and why do we need it. Well, if you want to create positive change in people's lives, or in your case, some of your cases in the environment, you have to measure your social impact. And you can cause the impact directly or indirectly, or unintentional or unintentional. But you have to see what you have done so far and what's your impact. And when we say change, it's actually the social value you create with all of your work. So we all know what's financial value, but this time there is also social value that you're measuring. And we use impact thinking approach with the social enterprises that we're working with. It means involving stakeholders at all stages of our operations. So we encourage the social entrepreneurs like you to involve your stakeholders, especially your beneficiaries, from very beginning. So when you're developing your design or your products or services, you can go to your beneficiaries and ask if that's the thing that they're needed the most. So if you're really producing something that solves their problems, or maybe address their needs. So stakeholders and beneficiaries are always in the center. So you really should go and talk with them. Just ask what has been changing in their lives, or what you want to change, what they want to change in their lives. Yeah, and well, once you start asking questions, you will start collecting data. So these two things are at the center of the impact thinking approach that we've been using, and I can say that this really works a lot. So why do we measure what we do, or why do we need impact thinking? First, you are always I guess you have all small teams and very limited resources. So if you measure what you're doing, or if you collect data about what you're doing, it's easier for you to allocate your resources or manage your resources in terms of financials or HR. And well, of course, to maximize your impact, you should always collect data and see what's going on. These three decisions, so to change, to stop, or to scale, yeah, some of your cases you want to scale here. So to make these decisions, you need data, and not just financials, but you need to see where you're going, like what kinds of impact you have done so far. If you don't collect data, you can't make appropriate decisions, right? So this is what we need it for. And of course, why you're here today, if you have your data on social impact, you can go to the funders and say, here is what I've done so far, here is the social value I've been creating, because they see the funders, most of the funders, especially investors, they see you as a bit of risky. So to eliminate risks and manage the risks, you have to make the right decisions and prove that the founders that you have been going in the right direction. As I said before, social impact is for upgrading existing products and services. If you want to scale up your products and services, as some of you have, right, 3 or 4 are trying to scale up here. If you want to replace the ones that are not working, the activities you have been so far. So if you want to see you're going in the right direction, you have to see your social impact as well. And if it doesn't work, maybe you should just stop and start with something new. So drawing board to transfer the business and its goals as well. So when you're doing cost and risk analysis before you go to the funders, you have to have the data, and you have to ask yourself if it's accurate, if it's complete, or if it's detailed enough. Have you been, like, any of you have been collecting data on social impact? Yeah, just 2, 3. What kind of things you've been collecting, for example? I think there is a mic. Sorry. Yeah?
Does it work?
I mean, if everyone can hear, I'm fine.
We are collecting data on almost everything. What we produce, how we this production, how its impact on the outside business that we do with all our partners. We have almost 100 of them.
And
So
do you produce food?
yes.
So are
And
you?
we are selling food. We
Okay.
have half of it.
Have you ever asked your customers, if they liked it or if
Yes.
anything has
We
changed?
do it on a weekly basis.
Weekly basis,
Yes.
okay. So you're doing, like, you're already embedded your social impact management into your
Yes.
daily business.
Yes.
Great. And some other raised hands, yeah? Do you know if your social enterprise is the one who is causing the literacy rates going up? Like, okay. I must say this is not comfortable at all.
Now it's working?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we started with our work in 2011, and there was the data comparison between 2010 and 2009 and 2013. The results came out in 2014, and those 3 years we had the biggest actions happening nationwide. So like the e-literacy, the digital literacy improved drastically. So we were also mentioned as best practice here.
Okay. So you use pre and post test then?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you saw the status before and the after.
Yeah,
which
and
we all should
one
have
of
done.
the research was also from the Faculty of Economics,
Yeah.
where they researched how there are positive effects on the volunteers and on the participants in our workshops. So that was also one of them.
Okay. So you hired someone to do that, the university, or?
It was a cooperation.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I'm Lenka. I came from E3 community. In 2014, we were investment ready program in Vienna, and then we get award that came from abroad to measure our social impact. So from then on, we have own system which measure everything what is important or in our focus. The most interesting is that we measure reducing the cost for government, healthy, and because pensions, because we employed people who will be 100% cost of the community. So this is the most interesting because we have the same team 7 years, and
Yeah.
we know that our colleague don't go to the hospital, and statistically we know how much cost is one young people with some disease. So
Okay.
this is most for us the most important part of measurement. Of course, now we measured our customers. So we the next step. So we our investors is our customers who give us enough work that we can do the social impact.
Okay. So, for example, you do the social impact measurement on daily basis. I don't remember your name, but did it, yeah, weekly basis, did it help you to make decisions? Do you make decisions? Yeah, right? Yeah. So I think I must go a bit quicker. So actually these are the 10 questions that you should ask yourself. What problem are we trying to solve here? What is our proposed solution to the problem? These, like, if you answer these 10 questions, then this is kind of a guideline for you to measure and manage your social impact. Like, who experiences the changes in their lives as a result of what we do? So who do we affect? What changes are experienced? So you go and ask your stakeholders and beneficiaries, like, what have changed in your lives? How can we measure these changes? How much of each change has happened? And how much of each change is caused by our activities, like I asked you before? How much of the illiteracy on digital devices was happened because of you? So because it's very important. It's also related on your knowledge on the market, like who are your rakip, like no, who you're competing with in the market. Yeah. And how much of change is caused by your activity? How long do we need to measure the changes for? So do we do it weekly basis? Do we do it yearly? So what's your expectation of change? Like, what's the relative importance of the different changes? So which changes do you find more prior, or which ones do you don't care? So like the priority importance of different changes, and which changes matter and are important enough for us to manage. And while there are different methodologies, these are some I've written here, but there are some others. Maybe you heard of SROI, social return on investment. It gives you a chance to see the social value you're creating as well as the financial value. So you can see the financial outcomes of the social investment you're doing. There is a stakeholder-based social impact maps. It's very similar to SROI, but there is the component of financial values is missing there. There is theory of change, maybe most of you have heard. Well, it's actually a strategic planning for you. So it's a tool to operate your activities, and it's kind of a roadmap for you. There's for example, something called logical framework, but it's more performance-based rather than social impact. But it's also a tool we can use. In the morning, I was talking with Tanya. She introduced us a couple of minutes ago, and I realized also that B Corp. Have you heard of B Corp? I don't know. So B Corp is an American social initiative. And Mikado is also a B Corp, where every year they're sending us a very detailed survey. So it's also a tool where you can use to assess your social impact as well. So I think you can all check what B Corp is. I think it's very beneficial for you. I'm getting quicker because I think we're out of time. So I think you all know that there are some data collection techniques. So there's qualitative and quantitative data. There are like less formal meetings you can have. It's very practical and you don't need a budget for that. You have face-to-face surveys, phone surveys, email or online surveys, or, well, I think postal surveys is a bit old now, but still. And, well, here are some cases that we worked, and they have adapted some different impact management systems and tools that I mentioned. There is a Turkish social enterprise called e-Bursum. It's an e-scholarship platform which systematized the very crowded and unsystematic way of giving scholarships to university students. It has been operating since 2015, and it has been asking its stakeholders and students to develop its products and services. But since last year, it's systematized its social impact management through using social impact maps. So they have a very complex social impact maps now, and they're developing a social impact archive through those. They're using it as a tool for attracting investors as well right now. Actually, they attracted an investor last year from France, interestingly enough, because we don't have investors in Turkey right now investing in social businesses. And he also uses it as a tool, like the outcomes of the social map, as a tool for communication. So it also is a material for you to use everyday communication in your own work. There is an FRC group. I don't know if you heard of it. It's from England. It aims at decreasing the furniture poverty in England, because it's a big issue there. People, like disadvantaged people, they cannot access to good furniture. So it's a huge problem. They're using SRI since it has been founded. And well, if I move here, they were focused on dialoguing with their stakeholders and beneficiaries at first, but then it wasn't so, taking the beneficiaries in the center at first, and then they realized that if they don't take into account the stakeholders' opinions and the changes they're experiencing in their lives, they couldn't expand within the UK. So what they have done is that they improved and refocused on the stakeholders' perspective rather than their own business perspective. So now they're making their business decisions not just by sitting with their board of directors, but they're also inviting all of the stakeholders and beneficiaries on the table, and then they're deciding on what to do next, the next year, for example. So this is a very good example, I guess. There is a Turkish platform called Future is Brighter. It increases employability of young people in Turkey through an online platform. It offers one-to-one mentoring, trainings, surveys, workshops, or there are also some offline camps for young people. It's done? Okay. So they've been using theory of change since last year, and their social impact increased a lot. And they also attracted one social impact investor, again outside of Turkey, but it's been working really, really good. Should I finish maybe here? Okay, I have only one example left, but you have to manage your social impact to create social value as well as financial value, because if you don't, if you want to get investment, and I'm sure all of your financials would be really risky from the perspective of investors. So what you have to show them is that you really create something valuable, and so like really, really valuable. So yeah, you have to manage it from the very beginning. Yeah, that's all. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Because I went really fast and this is really uncomfortable, so. Any questions or no?